a new UN agreement with the United States called the Strong Cities Network. Now, I read up on this and I thought this can't be true. John Whitehead is here. He's an attorney and president of the Rutherford Institute, author of the book Battlefield America, The War on the American People, good friend of the program, and really a warrior who's been at this game for a long time. John, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me on, sir.
So, John, tell us exactly, what is the Strong Cities Network?
Well, it was announced a couple weeks ago by Loretta Lynch. She's, the U.S. Attorney General with the New York mayor and UN officials. It's a program launched supposedly to fight violent extremism in all its forms in cities and in communities across the world. They'll be focusing here in the United States. And here's an actual quote from their press release. They said, to build a community of cities to inspire local action on a global scale. 25 cities, corporations are in what they call subnational entities and think tanks are involved in this. Minneapolis, New York, Denver, Los Angeles is going to be part of the program. What they're going to do is the UN is going to be working with the federal government to train local police agencies supposedly how to fight violent extremism. The problem is that people are talking, I think you mentioned global police. Well, I see it more as globalizing American police. In other words, bringing them in part of a global network where they will enforce international policies against so-called violent extremists. And I've been at this about 40 years, Glenn. I've seen what the government thinks extremists are. I don't know if you remember, back in 2009, under the Obama administration, they issued those reports on left-wing extremism and right-wing extremism. Do you remember those? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, the thing was, right-wing extremists were returning veterans, abortion advocates, people like that. Left-wing extremists were PETA groups, animal rights groups. But when I read the documents, the words terrorist and extremist were used interchangeably in the same sentence. So I wrote a commentary, which I do weekly anyway, where I said, am I a terrorist? Any kind of activist is considered an extremist. And we've actually defended people who have done Facebook posts who have been grabbed out of their homes by police and federal agents and put in mental hospitals. We actually won one case on that issue.
Most people, hang on, John, I know you've been on the show and you've told that story before, but just in case people don't know that story, just tell that story real quick. Because people won't believe, they don't believe it until they hear all the facts.
Yeah, it was shortly after these reports were issued on extremism under the Obama administration. There was a young Marine, 26 years old, a decorated Marine, by the way. He actually defused mines in Afghanistan, a hero. He came back. He was disillusioned. He didn't like Obama's executive orders. He was always ranting about that on Facebook and saying, he said Obama should be arrested and and charged with treason. A number of other things. Well, on a Saturday morning, he was at home typing. He just got through jogging. He didn't have his shirt on. He heard some noise outside. It was a hot August day. He looked out on his lawn, and 8 vehicles had pulled up on his lawn. Toward his house were black SWAT team kind of policemen running in his home with these guys and women, and by the way, in civilian clothes. He's a Marine. He steps to the front door and he opens the screen door and says, "What's up?" And they go, "We're concerned, sir, about some things you've been saying." And he goes, "What?" He said, "Could you step outside?" And so he stepped outside. By the way, if they'd done a background check, they would have found he owned no weapons. The only weapon he had in his house was a Perry knife. He said he prepared his fruit work. So they couldn't have got a warrant on anything because he didn't own a licensed firearm. But anyway, they jerked him. They arrested him. They took him down to the police station. His mother called many organizations, ACLU. No one would touch the case. I called the sheriff of the local station there. It was in Virginia. And I said, "What's this man done? What's his crime?" And the police chief said, actually, he's committed no crime. We're concerned about his Facebook post, sir. He had a 5-minute examination in a jail cell and a short hearing. They put him in the mental hospital. We had to file a lawsuit to get him out. He'd have been in there forever and come out. There's 1.5 million of those by they call civil commitments. They occur in the United States annually. He was labeled an extremist. But people forget on the National Defense Authorization Act, which Obama has continually re-upped. The military, if they consider you an extremist, I mean, Obama wants to point you out, they can come and take you out of your home. You don't get a trial. So under these kind of documents that we're creating here, like this thing we're talking about, the Strong Cities Network, it's up to the government to determine what a violent extremist is. In this case, it was a Brandon Robb. In other cases where we've helped other veterans, it's people who have just done that, the FBI investigation because they complain about the government, but they're extremists. See? So what this thing is going to do, in my opinion, it's going to totally federalize, internationalize local police, and you're going to be dealing with a totally different entity, I'd say, within the next 10 years.
John, you just in talking to you, I don't know this for sure, but just in talking to you, you seem libertarian. Are you libertarian?
Yeah, I'm not political. I'm not political at all. I defend all.
Okay.
And anybody, right. It doesn't matter whether you're Republican. But yeah,
I'm just because just to show how far we've come and how much I've changed as a person. I think that you would have been a guy that I would have said 15 years ago, oh, this guy is just, he's just one of these liberals out there just trying to free all the criminals, all that nonsense that I would have probably said 15 years ago. What you say, a lot of the stuff sounds like what a classic liberal would have, I shouldn't say a classic liberal, but a liberal from, the 90s would have been saying that they cared about. Why is it that, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but why isn't the liberals don't care about what you're saying as much as I care about what you're saying? Because we should all care about this.
I agree, but, you have Obama pushing heavy gun control, and by the way, let me tell you, folks, the violent extremists under this type of stuff, and I've seen it because I've defended the people, automatically anybody with a gun, a licensed gun or whatever, is going to be considered a violent extremist, and that's coming soon.
How do you mean? How do you mean? Wait a minute. How do you mean? How do you mean that's coming soon? Why do you say that?
Oh, I just, I see what's happening today. I mean, I defend kids in schools. Let me give you an idea of what a violent extremist is. A year and a half ago, right before Christmas, a little boy named Johnny Jones he's 10 years old in Ohio, fourth grade. He went to the desk to get a piece of paper from the teacher. On the way back to his desk, his friend in class, his best friend, did a silent gun and just did his lips pout to make no noise. Our kid did a bow and arrow back to him silently. Teacher saw Johnny Jones doing the bow and arrow. He was pulled out of class, cited with a weapons violation, portraying a violent weapon, and he was taken to the principal's office and removed from school. We had to threaten to file a lawsuit. Finally, they backed down the school and let him back in school and took that off his record. I tell people, if you don't think that's nuts, we got a whole bevy of cases like that. So what's extremism? What used to be fun in school to me is now extremism. And you're looking at 20 years ago. 20 years ago, you didn't hear about any of this stuff. That's how fast society is changing. That's the problem. The other thing I see here, and this is a dangerous trend, with these type of things here, you're going to have international figures, international police, you want to call them that. There'll be higher-up police like the FBI types that are in our government. They'll be working in fusion centers all across the country. And if people don't know what fusion centers are, go on the Internet and look them up. They're all around the country. They completely watch everything you're doing, your cell phone text, where you're shopping. Your license plates are now downloaded by both the federal government, local police, and state agencies. So wherever you go, you're going to be watched. And you're going to have international troops because the military, Department of Homeland Security, CIA run the fusion centers. Now you're going to have the UN in those. Here's the other thing they're going to do.
Hang on. Oh, you make my head hurt every time I talk to you. Fusion centers sound nuts. Yeah. Nuts. That they're watching everything that you're doing. Who is watching them? And how is this not an internet scam? No.
They're all over the country. There are at least 70 some, and now they've set up what they call real-time crime centers in some cities. They're advanced fusion centers. With the technology they have now, with the license plate, and by the way, with the new red light cameras, and you have the speed cameras that are popping up everywhere across the country, they're going to have probably have facial recognition, but now they can read your license plate number. These are machines. So when you're passing a stop sign, going here, turning left, Google, by the way, is it's a whole different subject. But Eric Schmidt with Google, it works with the NSA. They watch everything you're doing, folks. There's nothing private anymore, and that's easily provable. By the way, in my book, Battlefield America, I have 35 pages of footnote. I footnote all this stuff. So we're living in a scary world. I'm calling this is the day after tomorrow. We're there, folks.
Okay,
I think there's some things we can do, but
what are those things? First of all, what should people do about this UN deal? Can we go to our police? Can we go to our city councils? What can we do?
Yeah, the most effective action. I mean, Obama, the UN is not going to listen to the average citizen. Your local city governments will. I mean, and that again, I practice the principles of Martin Luther King. He said the government doesn't listen to us. In his last essay, he said that. The only thing that works is First Amendment activity, nonviolent First Amendment activity. That's getting people together, picketing, getting in front of your city hall, running for office, and changing local government. Local government can chase these people out of there. Do you really want, folks, UN officials, international police in your local communities? Do you really want that? Because here's the key. If you study the Founding Fathers and the whole concept of local police where they were local, they were your next-door neighbor, they knew you. When they saw you, they wouldn't pull a gun out and shoot you. Easily, by the way. We're losing that in this country. Obama has already federalized our police with all the military equipment, and the FBI is training police chiefs. Department of Homeland Security is training the SWAT teams. 80,000 SWAT team raids now occurring across America annually. You don't think there's going to be some SWAT team raids under this Safe, Strong Cities network for violent extremists when they're determining what the extremists are?
And by the way, UN is Sharia compliant, so they know what extremists are.
Exactly.
They just don't happen to define them the way we define them.
And here's the other thing that's really bothering me is, as I look at the educational system today, they're training the kids to go up in this kind of global network by doing away with the American flag. I don't know if you saw that case a couple of weeks ago where the school said the kids couldn't wear flags or have flags of any kind. They did some protests because it might offend somebody. We have a case in California where kids wore American flags on Cinco de Mayo Day. They said it was offensive. They threw them out of school. So they're erasing history. Kids are going to look at the American state pretty soon. I mean, they're saying now in some schools that beyond a certain date, they're not going to study history. Beyond like 1860, you'll not know what the Declaration of Independence said. Kids are not going to understand that. They don't have any idea. Listen, the country has been turned upside down totally. I'm trying to warn people, but you're going to have to get up, folks. Get off of your hind end and get out and get actively involved.
What is your web address, John?
It's Rutherford.org. Rutherford.org.
Okay. John Whitehead does amazing work. His book is Battlefield America, War on the American People. What we've been talking about is the UN program that Barack Obama roped us into called the Strong Cities Network. It's real. It is happening. It is as real as Common Core. And it is putting the United Nations in our towns and in our police departments. And there's a few cities that are starting it, but you have to stand now. You can find out more at Rutherford.org. John, as always, keep up the good work. Thank you so much.